first time ever, and the person sitting right next to me was already in San Francisco Temple trying to develop it. So that is something 1967. Are you all with me? Yes? Okay. Okay, so Maharaj is also there with me. I will come to Maharaj as a special audience member with us today. So thank you so much, the Walking Monk, for joining us. Let's give a huge round of applause to everyone that came here. And of course, the Walking Monk is known as Bhakti Monks by Maharaj. So since you're all with me, where were we? We were in San Francisco. It was 1967. It was in North America. Now I would want each one of you to take a flight with me and cross the Atlantic. Go from North America to England. So the person sitting right next to me is amongst those 6 devotees who was sent to England to establish Krishna consciousness movement there. And of course, need not to mention, they met Beatles and the entire history. The person, okay, let's take one more last flight. I'm going to take one more last flight. We're going to take now, we took the flight from North America to England. Now we're taking the flight from England to India. And India, we're going to Sri Vrindavan Dham.
Should we show the books?
The person sitting right next to me was instrumental in the development work of now glorious Sri Radha, Krishna Balram, Sri Radha Shamsundar and Krishna Balram Temple is on, Vrindavan Temple. So he was involved there. And above all, like I would say, we're doing so many things amongst the first few initiated devotees has gone. But one thing that really touches my heart, and I have a lot of questions to ask about that, if you have seen Srila Prabhupada's pictures, then he was amongst those devotees who clicked a lot of pictures of Srila Prabhupada. So with your reverberating applause, let's give a huge round of applause in welcoming our today's guest, who's a stalwart of bhakti, perseverance, and deep love for Srila Prabhupada, His Grace Guru Das Prabhu. So one more time, let's give him a huge round of applause, everyone. And also, let's say Haribo, the way we do it here in ISKCON Toronto Temple, and welcome him. Let's do that 3 times. Haribo!
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 So thank you so much for joining us. And like I said, I have with me right now His Grace Guru Das Prabhu, and we will be having this session. I also want to welcome each one of you one more time, and His Holiness Bhakti Mark Swami Maharaj, the Walking Monk here, who is the part of our esteemed audience members today. So thank you so much, Maharaj, for joining us today. Okay, so I have a lot of questions to ask you. Since this is a talk show format, we are so wanting to listen to the nectar, the time that you spend with Srila Prabhupada. But I'll start with a candid conversation, and perhaps we can move eventually to deeper spiritual insights. So my first question to you would be, since you clicked Srila Prabhupada via your lens so many times, which is your favorite picture or a favorite moment? And was Prabhupada camera shy?
My favorite moment was when he asked me in to find out about a camera for someone in India. Previous to that, he was translating and we didn't get to see him. And there was like the classic chela or disciple waiting at the gate for some time before they had entrance with their guru. And he called me in and asked me about the camera. And then I showed him the camera, and like a child, there's a light meter. And when you put your hand over the light and take it off, there's an arrow. And he played with it for 15 minutes, the camera. And he took it like that. He was very curious. Curiosity is good. It took Thomas Edison years to find the filament for a light bulb, but curiously he kept on going, persevering. And this is like spiritual life, keep on going. And then, as we got to know one another, the love continued, and he teased me. That's love. when you know somebody and you can tease them. So I was photographing, and he says, Guru Das, there's a superstition in India that if someone is photographed, it'll take their soul and their life will be shortened. Have you ever heard that? The camera fell from my hands like the Gandiva bow from Arjuna. He said, what do you think of that, Guru Das Ji? I gained my composure and I picked up my camera and I said, it's not how long we live, Swamiji, it's what we do with our life that's important. And then he looked, oh, my pupil is so smart. And then he said, it's just a superstition. He was so much fun to be with. One time, I'm sitting there next to him and people were touching his feet in reverence and giving gifts. And another superstition, that if someone touches your feet, you have to take their karma. Have you heard that? That
yes.
one you've heard. So he said, yes, that's why I pat them on the head. I give the karma back to them. You see, he was very special. It was the 60s, as you said, and there was hedonism, pleasure, free everything. And then the Swami came. And then I say, why would I want to follow a 71-year-old man who's telling me to not have fun anymore? Because no illicit sex, no meat eating, no intoxicants, and no gambling speculation. But he revealed that I've given you the Vedic culture, something tangible. I was having fun, but I wanted purpose in my life. And then we thought, oh, things from India are very special. So if we wanted a Swami, we'd want someone who's sweet, compassionate, wise, funny. He was that and more, sitting amongst us, spoon-feeding us Krishna consciousness, and as I say, turning barbarians into Brahmins.
I like that, barbarians into Brahmanas. Well, that's on a good note. So, since you're talking about this era, 1960s, San Francisco, the center of hippies, and when you got to know that Prabhupada is about to arrive, okay, one quick question for all the audience member. Which place in the world or in the Western world had the first Rath Yatra? First, yeah? Anyone? Okay, not you. You know the answer. Anyone else? Which place in the Western world had the first Rath Yatra ever? This was the 52nd year of Toronto's Rath Yatra. So which city or which place in the Western world had the first Rath Yatra ever? Yeah? San Francisco. That's right. Do we have, okay. A special prize for our audience member.
He can show the picture from the book.
Oh, do you have, yeah, okay, so he can also show us the picture from the book. So when Prabhupada arrived in San Francisco, did you ever envisage that it's going to be the first Rath Yatra, that would ever come to San Francisco? And I know it's been celebrated even till now. So what were your first thoughts when you knew that Prabhupada is about to come to San Francisco?
We didn't know anything about Rath Yatra. Or anything. He had to spoon feed us. The first Rath Yatra was a truck.
Oh, Jaribo.
My dog from Mexico is in the truck. Now, here's the second Rath Yatra.
Wow, that's a massive increase in number of people from first to the second.
And then just see, Prabhupada would say, just see.
Oh my Krishna, Haribo. And that happened in 3 consecutive years.
So there was a devotee, and the Swami was looking at the street above the temple. There was a storefront, and he liked Charlie Chaplin movies, so he could see what's going on without sound. And one devotee stole some butter from a truck. Now, we only had one dhoti and one sari in the whole movement. There's only about 10 people. And so Swami sees this and he calls her up. She puts the one sari on and he said, "So you have stolen the butter?" Now, he had not chastised us. He's just kind, giving. I never saw anybody so kind, like a father. Giving, not taking, living. His trunk was his desk. He came with $7, had a heart attack. People would go back. He missed Vrindavan, he missed India, he still stayed. He persevered. So he said, "You have stolen the butter?" She said, "Yes." No, she felt bad. She felt like a piece of butter herself. She was melting. And he said, "We should not steal. It's Krishna's property. Other people's property, you should treat it like stool. You should not steal. But if you have to steal butter, because Krishna's called Makhanchor." And then he told the story of Krishna stealing the butter and feeding the monkeys and all that. But as we barbarians, we still didn't learn. And so she was in an import store and we thought things from India were very spiritual. Even a kurta from India, it's spiritual. A bead from India. So what they call in San Francisco in the West, she did what's called a 5-finger discount. She stole something.
5-finger discount.
5-finger discount. So she brings it to the Swamiji, and because we had access to him, he was kind, and we could go and talk to him. She said, "Is this from India?" And he bows down. He said, "You brought Lord Jagannath. I shall tell you what to do about making a car and a festival." He said, "Are there some other ones?" And she said, "Yes, I think there's a white one and a yellow one." He said, "Go get them." So she goes and does the 10-finger discount. And so then that was the start of the Jagannath Festival in San Francisco. But you see, that wasn't enough. This will show you how ignorant we were and how wonderful he is teaching us. As you know, probably, Lord Jagannath only comes out of the temple once a year. Well, some devotee decided, because we didn't know anything, decided, let's take Lord Jagannath for a walk in the park. So Swamiji heard that, and we're running where are we going, Swamiji? He's running. Someone is taking Lord Jagannath to a walk in the park.
Oh, that's the picture. Yes, that's one of the iconic pictures.
So he was the most uncompromising, strict, open-minded, adventurous person I ever met. And he said, "Okay, since Lord Jagannath is here, then let's just sit down and chant." Again, he forgave us
Wow, that's so wonderful. And 5-finger and 10-finger discount brought Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maharani and out there for Rath Yatra. That's pretty interesting to know. So when you were in San Francisco, what were those initial days of struggles or obstacles that you faced? And how were those? What were those initial days like? What kind of struggles or what kind of challenges you faced?
Obstacles?
Yeah.
Swamiji had a heart attack on the boat coming over, and yet he continued. Well, similarly, in San Francisco, he had another stroke. We didn't know if he'd live or die. We chanted. Later, he recovered, and he told me that when you're making spiritual progress, Maya will attack. So, first of all, spiritual life is like a razor's edge. You have to have good intentions, and you have to not lie to yourself or others. And so just learning the basics was somewhat of an obstacle, but then, and things from my past were coming in, like unwanted, anarthas. And I asked Swamiji, what is that? It's coming in and going out. He says it's the purification process. So as it was starting to be a different lifestyle, I was learning the rules and regulations. And then Swamiji said, once you learn the rules, the foundations, they become part of you. Then the spontaneous aspect of Krishna consciousness is, and it was like a weight lifting off my shoulder. Yes, it's a fun adventure, and we have a family, and we're building something, and we want to make the Swami happy. We did tremendous things. How did you do it, Gurudas? Well, I wanted to see the Swami smile.
Well, that's such a pure intention and a purpose to have, to see Srila Prabhupada's smiling face. So when you were told that you will be one of those 6 devotees who will be visiting England, and you knew there were no temples there, no devotees there, absolutely nothing, what was your first reaction?
Well, let me back up a little. There was no devotees there. When we first started, there was no movement. We take for granted this beautiful temple. There was no kartals, no mridangas, no movement, no people to learn from. And the Swami sat on the altar playing a bongo drum. So soon it became a part of me. And when that happens, when something love enters you, you want to give it out. So it turned out that it became a great adventure. And so the first adventure was that when we were ready, we learned something enough to give it to others. He kicked me out of the nest like a bird. But he said, my Guru Maharaj wanted something in London. It's the hub center of the world. So some devotees in 1941, with his Guru Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, they went to London and they weren't so successful. So he asked 3 married couples and a baby to go to London. So at the height of the 60s, there was 2 musicians, Bob Dylan, who I knew. I get to meet him. I gave him a string. He broke a string. We said we can do more with story and song to reach people's hearts than political rhetoric. Because I was in the civil rights movement before I became a devotee, based on Gandhi's peace, nonviolent. I was put in jail and beaten for my beliefs, and that got me ready for these adventures. And so when Swamiji said he wants us to go to London, our only plan is to meet the other group, a music group who was ahead of the time. All we need is love, and beautiful songs, the Beatles. So we said, okay, we're going to London. Let's see if we can meet the Beatles. Now, who would do this unless they really believed? Or single-handedly? No, because we were a family, and we said, okay. And we were bold for Krishna, because Prabhupada was bold for Krishna. He determinedly kept on the boat. He kept persevering constantly, showing us that keep on going, keep on going. So we went now in London at the time. Have any of you been to London, England?
Yeah.
Well, there's a term in England called stroppy. It means very rigid, and if you didn't have a two-way ticket, then they would send you back. And if you didn't have enough money. Now, one of the parties, Shamsunda, got some money. He was arrested for drugs, and now they gave the money back. And Swamiji gave us $50 in Montreal. On the way, we went to Montreal, and he blessed us. And so first, the couple with the baby, Samashunda Malati and little Saraswati, went to the English customs and said, okay, we've got $1,050. Okay, come on. So then they sent it to us in Amsterdam. So me and Jamuna, we've got $1,040 the bank to cut. Okay, come on in. And then we sent it to Mukunda and Janaki. So we were bold for Krishna. That was just the start. I don't know if I should tell the story about the soundproof. It's a little... Nah, I don't think I should tell that story.
We'll be happy to hear anything from you. So, but my question is that, I'm imagining, Prabhupada, when you already know that sannyasis or Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj's disciples, Srila Prabhupada's god brothers, they went to England and they couldn't get any success. And when you were told to go there, was there ever a negative thought, hey, this project is already tried and tested, perhaps it won't work. Why are you sending 3 Grasta couples out there? Did you ever question that to Prabhupada?
I don't remember, but probably in the process I was constantly questioning. Did I do the right choice? But there's 3 aspects of spiritual life. Shastra, which is like the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, the Guru Granth. I went to the Golden Temple. That's an adventure. I learned the teachings of Guru Nanak. I honor Guru Gobind Singh. I honor the Gurdwaras. We went there, we saw people feeding. Now you see, this is a point that in our spiritual traditions and other spiritual traditions, we should see what is common and harmonious, not separate we and them. So we honor, and the basic Vedic Hinduism honors other traditions, because we're doing more things alike than separate. So, he gave us a basic principle which could save the world, and that's called das anudas. that we serve one another. I want your success, you want my success, and that could save the world. But we're doing it here. In the modern age, oh, Gurudas, can I warm your milk? Yes, so 78 degrees, you know. I didn't say that. You're so kind. And this is what he gave us. It's still going on 50 some odd years later. And that's what I love about Mother India, by the way. I love India. It's my mother country. When I got there, the monsoon winds, it was 1971 in Bombay, and I'm wondering, I'm seeing the villages and the temples and the cows and a dal walla by the road. Oh, the time is slower. I'm really liking this. And then the driver was honking his horn, honk, honk. And I'm thinking, the horn is more important than the motor in India. So he's honking, and then I saw, well, the cows are going off the road, the walla wallas. So later on, now 4 years I'm in India, Swamiji and me were riding down the road. There's 4 of us in the car, and the horn broke. So the cows and the dal wallas didn't go like that. So Swami says, give me my tali and give me my cane. It's sort of like a Broadway show. Give me my tali, give me my cane, da 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 da. And he goes out the window and goes bang bang, bang bang, bang bang, bang bang. Sure enough, the cows go to the walla wallas. And then he goes on and says, they will think it's an American invention and try to imitate. Or he sees some bird droppings in San Francisco, and he says, what's the meaning of these droppings? So Pender said, well, the positioning of the droppings. Swamiji said, no, what's the meaning? No one knew. He said, he counted the bird droppings with his cane and said, these birds have lived in this tree for 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And then we walked on and he laughed. Even birds are attached to their apartments. And he was fun to be with. One time he was sitting on the floor across from a pakor in Calcutta, and he was like a little child, and he said, Gurudas, I have fooled them. And I said, who? And he said, the mosquitoes. When I sit on the floor, they rise up. And I said, Swamiji, are there mosquitoes in Krishna Loka, in Vaikuntha? And he says, they don't bite, they sing. So you get an idea. So now we're in London, and how we even got to meet the Beatles is Krishna works in mysterious ways.
We would definitely want to know that. How many of you are audacious? You get inspired. You know, just to let you know, there's a recent kind of the modern age equivalent, I wouldn't say equivalent, but something kind of Beatles is Drake. And he stays at Bridal Path here in Toronto. Do you know about Drake? Younger generations, yeah, you know about Drake. So how many of you would be audacious to go to Drake's house and say, hey, I went to the Hare Krishna temple, I want to give you the Bhagavad Gita, or I want to invite you to the temple. So it's a very difficult, daunting task. How did you manage to even think, oh, we are getting a meeting with the Beatles?
Or Charlie Chaplin.
Or Charlie Chaplin for that matter.
Or Indira Gandhi. Or Jagjivan Ram, or Umar Shankar Dixit, the Home Minister. Jagjivan Ram, we had these Pandal programs. I'll answer your question. Yeah. But we had it in Calcutta and doing the Naxalite war in Delhi. So we had 7 nights of dignitaries coming. The mayor of Delhi, Hans Rajgupta, the Canadian ambassador, James George, the poet laureate, the scientist, Atmaram. So I thought, well, let me see if I can get a cabinet minister. Now, I couldn't do this any place except India in the 1970s. So two of us went to the defense minister. He was supposedly untouchable. There's upward mobility. That doesn't work anymore. Anyway, the Varnashra system works, but anyway. So there was a soldier, but there was two of us. So we went like that. And he chased my friend, and I was sitting there with Judge Ivan, the defense minister, at 6:30 in the morning. And I'm saying, please come to our gathering. Such and such is coming. And he said, I can't because we're a secular government. And their idea was if you go to one religious organization, you have to go to, in even Northern Ireland, they said, oh, we don't need another religion up here. And I said, we're not a religion, we're a way of life. And you could use another way of life. It was wartime. And it's like on TV, and it's like I punched him in the stomach. I said, you can use another way of life. So I go there and I say, please come to our gathering. And he knew about the war 3 months before it happened. And Taran Kandi Ghosh, another minister, knew it. See, I got to hobnob with kings and queens and prime ministers. Anyway, he's saying, I can't come to your gathering because we're a secular government. So I see a painting of his mother with her hand in a bead bag. And I said, if you don't come to our gathering, I'm going to tell your mother on you. And the defense minister says, okay, I'll come. So this is the boldness, the Beatles. We had neighbors. There was a motorcycle gang called the Hells Angels, and they wanted to come to England, and so a music band and an old friend, Ken Kesey, and they all came to England, and we had a warehouse temple, and we fed them. And Mukunda helped them start a branch of the Hells Angels in England. Anyway, they would beat people up, and they were wanting to beat the Beatles up. And Sam Ashinda was in the room chanting. And John Lennon, one of the Beatles, looked in and he said, he was a street lad. And Ringo Starr looked in and he said, I'm not going in there. And Paul McCartney said, I'm not good. And George saw Sam Ashinda, and he goes there. And the Beatles were going to beat up the Hells Angels, but because we fed them, not only we fed them, but they fell asleep. We fed them, and then we had a movie from Boston. It was the first movie of the Swami. And so the Hells Angels are overfed, and we're saying, this movie from Boston, it's the Swami. Look, he's walking, and he's looking towards the camera. This is the best movie we've ever seen. The Hells Angels say, there's an old man walking up and down the street, so they fell asleep. So now we met George Harrison, and he and John Lennon got that first recording from New York happening, and they had chanted for 3 days, so they were primed for Krishna consciousness. So as soon as we met them, we clicked, and George Harrison was a first-class devotee. And he said, should I get initiated? And Prabhupada had the intelligence to say, no, you should continue doing devotional music and I'll help you. And let's say he did join, and I think a good bumper sticker would be, unimaginative administrators squash creativity. Some temple president might have made George Harrison wash the toilets with a toothbrush or something. Prabhupada did not want that.
Yeah.
And he was funny. He used to, he'd say, I'd say, George, I was so poor I slept on the floor. And he'd say, you had a floor? And I was so poor I slept in the hole? You had a hole? And I was so poor I slept in the box. Well, Malati slept in a box that Samashinda made with little windows.
All right, so we want to welcome His Grace Guru Das Prabhu one more time. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, okay, so about the Beatles, like you're sharing, when you went to India, what was the biggest cultural shock or the first thing you saw in India and you felt, oh my God, this is different. This is something I've never experienced. Is there any, any nectar you want to share about that?
I learned about a cultural shock. That's a really, by the way, you're doing great. You really are.
Thank you.
No, we're a family. We support one another. We appreciate one another. Anyway, we get to India, and there's a man with a fedora hat, and I thought he was a detective. And I was in charge of 17. I got to tell this story on the way to India. In Cairo, Egypt, we stopped, and the plane only had 2 propellers, and there was no door in the cockpit, and there was people holding goats and chickens in the plane. It was like from Marrakesh or something. At any rate, we get to Cairo, and it's not the day after President Nasser was assassinated, so the whole country was in disarray, like when Kennedy got shot in the United States. Well, I wanted to make sure our baggage was transferred to another 2-engine plane on the way to Bombay. And I was the photographer, and I also had a new movie camera. So Giriraj was out on where the plane is, and he started chanting Hare Krishna. And I'm making the film. Oh, there's NASA, a big poster of him, and there's black all over the place, and people are mourning. And there's the devotees jumping up and down and chanting Hare Krishna. Oh, and there's some soldiers rushing at the devotees with drooling mouths and red eyes and bayonets. And Chaitya Guru enters me, that's intelligence from above, and I get between the soldiers and I say, we're singing the praises of President Nasser. And then they became our guard. So we get to India, and so I get a telegram, Gurudas in charge, go with this man. So we go to Marine Drive on the ocean, and he's very wealthy, and the 17 of us were staying there. And so the very next day, because we were stalwart, we said, we're going to do Harinam, and we go to a place called Kalpadevi. So the rich man sent servants with costumes called livery, and they had silver pitchers of Nimbu Pani, lemonade, standing by our kirtan party, and Vishnujan and Dinanath and Jamuna and Kasalya and great kirtan. So I said, this is the American style of Harinam, that they have servants with them. So I sent them back. So now one thing in Harinam, you want to explain what's going on in the street. Mantra, mind deliverance. And of course, they saw us dancing white elephants coming to India. And so I was explaining Krishna conscious and your culture, and I thought to myself, well, Gurudas, this was a pretty good talk. And I said, is there any questions? And the man says, how much does a watch cost, sir? How much does a watch cost? That's the cultural shock. I'm doing it really good. How much does that watch cost here? I took the watch off. I haven't worn it. People would give watches to Prabhupada, and then he'd take them off and give a watch. But if somebody did it with that in mind, he wouldn't. So then somebody gave him a digital watch that you go like that, and the time comes. He says, "Oh, now I need two hands to tell the time."
So you, okay. Out of, you spend so many moments with Srila Prabhupada, creatively capturing him, with him in development work of initial temples, whether it was San Francisco or Vrindavan. So one piece of advice that Srila Prabhupada gave to you that you would want to pass on to new devotees who are starting their journey in Krishna consciousness.
I was sitting in Visakhapatnam. In India, I don't know if you know this, it's a survival. You put one shoe on one side of the temple and one shoe on it. See, you're great. If I do a comedy show, you're going to definitely be in the front row. You're laughing at the right, thank you for appreciating. You're just bubbling. So I ran after him, because monkeys or people don't take one shoe. So that's the trick. So I ran after him, and there were barnacles and shells, and so I was walking gingerly, and he said, "Where are your shoes?" He said, "There's enough tapasya, enough austerities in the world that we don't want to give ourselves unnecessarily more austerities." So this includes low self-esteem, that we're not so great. It includes guilt, including devotees, I'm not doing. Krishna just wants us to try, sincerely, like children, doing the best we can. So, we do this in so many ways in society, not feeling important, dealing with Kali Yuga, the craziness of the world, and misusing social media. You see, things are a tool. They're either a scalpel, saving weapon, or a killing weapon. So it depends on how we use things. So I thought that was a really good piece of advice, that there's enough tapasya in the world that we don't have to put any more unnecessary. But you see, he was not he's ready. During the Pakistan-Indian War, we're in Delhi, and people were, I'm talking a lot, is that all right?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
But I didn't, I'm not answering your question. At any rate, so people were covering the windows, and we were in a dharmshala, and Prabhupada didn't bother. And so ad hoc committee comes and says, "Swamiji, why aren't you covering the windows?" And he said, "Well, if Krishna wants to kill you, no one can save you. And if Krishna wants to save, no one can kill you." And I was there, we were a team, so I was making sure everybody had water and a mat. This is the Vedic thing. You give even your enemies water and a mat. And so I was standing up, and they said, "What if the bomb should come, Swamiji?" And he said, "I will see the bomb as Krishna." I wish I had the camera then. One time, a butterfly jumped on his finger, and I didn't want to spoil it with the loud camera, but that would have been a great picture. But the real miracle is that Swamiji opened the window and said, let the butterfly go out and get something to eat. And one time we were on a walk in Regent's Park, and Prabhupada took his cane. There was a rat going around in a can, and he took his cane and let the rat go free.
Well, that's about compassion. I have so many more questions to ask, but I'm gonna let this floor be open and let our audience members ask any questions if you have. Anyone, any question? I have loads of questions to ask, but I am giving a pause to myself because I would want you to get that opportunity. So anyone, any question that you have, you want to ask? Okay, so meanwhile you think about your questions, I will have, you can think about your questions and let me know. I'll have a quick rapid fire with you. So these days in a lot of talk shows, they have something called rapid fire round, which means that I ask you a question and you have to answer that in 1 word, 2 words, or maximum a sentence.
Oh, that's fun. Actually, it's called stream of consciousness or word association in psychology. I'm a counselor. Well, I've never done this, so this is going to be...
Let's do it then. Okay, so...
Nava Yogana, ever fresh, you see?
So, and it has to be as quirky as possible, as quick as possible, with as less words as possible. Okay, so here we go. Okay, I have to be rapid as well, in that way. What's the most unique souvenir you bought from India? When you visited India, what's the souvenir that you bought from India?
A king's lock. He gave me a trick lock that didn't work with a key. It worked with this lever.
Okay, if you could capture one more photo of Srila Prabhupada today, where would you place him?
The one with the butterfly.
The one with the butterfly? Okay. And where would that be?
Sorry?
Where would that be? Which place you would want to have that?
It was on John Lennon's estate.
All right, in the States. Out of San Francisco, England, India, which of the places gave you the most realizations?
Realization?
Yeah, which place gave you the most realizations?
Well, definitely India, because by this time I had a foundation, and this was the home of Krishna consciousness, so it was just like harmony.
Which beetle left the most lasting impression on you? Which beetle left the most lasting impression on you?
A rhetorical question. George Harrison.
George Harrison? Okay. Out of all the eminent personalities you met, like you said, Indira Gandhi and Defense Minister, Charlie Chaplin, Beatles, who was the most inspiring for you? Most inspiring, or the most inspiring for you, the one whom you shared any moment that you want to share with us?
A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
Okay. I knew that. I deliberately kept him out of the choices because I know he's going to be your choice, but okay. What's the most unexpected place you ever chanted Hare Krishna?
The most
unexpected place you ever chanted Hare Krishna?
In jail.
In jail? We want to know more about that. What was the funniest thing that happened during the early days of establishing the San Francisco temple?
The funniest?
The funniest. Okay, I'll move to the next question because it has to be rapid. This is a rapid fire round. Quick questions, quick answers. Okay, if Srila Prabhupada had favorite ice cream flavor or any favorite dessert, what was that?
Flavor?
Yeah.
His compassion.
His compassion. But I'm talking in terms of food, in terms of dessert. So, yeah. What would be would you remember what was his favorite food?
Shukta, stuffed pork towels, misty doi. He took me on so many feasts, even Chappanabog, and he liked Gujarati, he liked Punjabi, And sometimes when he ate, he really liked it, he put his hands down. So he took me to so many feasts, but because he was from Bengal, he liked Bengali food.
He liked Bengali food. Okay. Which moment with Srila Prabhupada do you revisit in your mind?
What?
Which moment with Srila Prabhupada you revisit often in your mind?
Well, there's so many often, but the first time I really knew he was a guru for me is when we were walking around the lake, Stowe Lake in San Francisco, and there was about 10 of us. And even then, some people are more arrogant than other people, and there were some ducks, and one devotee said, "Get out of the way, the Swami's walking." Well, they were sleeping, so now they're getting up. Quick, quick. And he says, as you are thinking they are disturbing us, they are thinking we are disturbing them. Which meant he saw in the hearts of all of it. Then and there, I fell in love with him. The second here's my guru. The second one is weird. He was sitting up there and he was going like this with his nose. He was not self-conscious or egomaniacal. No, it's weird, but that impressed me that he's so not like other people, you know, looking in the mirror and...
Okay, well that was funny. Well, that was my rapid fire. If you have any questions to ask, I let the floor open now, and you can ask any questions to Gurudas Prabhu. But for that rapid fire and for being that quirky and quick, let's give him a huge round of applause, everyone. Thank you. Maharaj, I'll start with you, and I've heard I've heard a similar, because I've walked with Maharaj a few times, not on the marathon walks that Maharaj does, but just around. And Maharaj, I've heard you saying the same thing. You would say as much, like I think once you told me the same thing, as much we think that they are disturbing us, which is the animals, but they also think the same, that we are disturbing them. So I heard you also speaking that. But how about you, if you have any question for Gurudas Prabhu, of course you can ask that, or else I can ask you a question, and then we can go ahead with that.
Hare Krishna.
I put you on the spot.
You did, I'm on the hot seat. You said, what surprises me is, so one of the devotees shoplifted. Did Prabhupada take great offense to that? Or was he a little bit casual about it?
She didn't tell him. She didn't, she already was the first one chastised, so she just said, she didn't say, oh, look, I stole these from you.
But that was interesting to know, 5-finger discount and 10 fingers discount and getting Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maharani. Yeah.
No, she got us a stove from Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead to put chapatis on. That we could, people gave us things, and they're still giving us things. George Harrison gave us a manner, you know? Mm-hmm. Because if you give love, you receive love. It's called transparent via media. It could be to a guru, it could be to an idea, it could be to a deity. The most common of transparent via media love, giving and receiving, is children. Goo goo, goo goo, goo goo. You're talking to yourself. And pets. Little dog. Do you want to go for a walk? Do you want to go for a walk? Wagging tail. Do you want to go for? You're talking to yourself at the same time. So this is a process. If you give love, We receive love karmically.
Perfect, thank you. Anyone, any question? Yeah, go ahead. Marge, do you have more questions?
Hare Krishna. How did you feel when for the first time you realized the value of a guru and you surrendered to Prabhupada with complete heart? How did you feel when you surrendered to the Prabhupada for the first time with your complete heart?
Yeah, I felt ecstatic. He was golden and his feet didn't touch the ground like Yudhisthira's chariot. He came out of the airplane, came in the office, airport. At that time in San Francisco, we painted our cars. So we had cars, Hare Krishna, and we had Batmobiles, and we were in costume. And he came amongst us, and he was golden and resplendent.
Thank you.
Good question, thank you.
Yes, any questions? Okay.
Hare Krishna. So what I see from disciples of Prabhupada, they have this intensity with which they love Prabhupada. But the thing is that for the coming generation, they won't be having that. So how can the coming generation, like how there's like Krishna consciousness, how can the coming generation have like Srila Prabhupada consciousness too, like that sort of thing?
I got some of that. How can we keep the intensity of the love we had?
How can we have the same attachment that you have for Prabhupada? Because that is very much required for the movement and for us also.
It's a good question, and there's Vani and Vopu, and there's love in separation, just like Vipalamba when we feel separation from Krishna, and that's why we chant. So we have a lot of tools. We have books now. So there's again Shastra, Sadhana, and then you have some practice. You're trying to do things to nourish your Krishna consciousness, maybe puja, chanting, honoring prasadam, and then some kind of seva. In psychology, it's called work therapy, something purposeful, hopefully righteous, not harming anybody, and hopefully you can do it. It's not always easy, but if you can do some direct Krishna conscious service, sometimes you have to do other jobs to support your Krishna consciousness. So this is a challenge, I understand that. But now we have so much due to Prabhupada. He was on the boat with $7 and all of this is him, this microphone, our family, you were here because of him. So he's written so many books that are the Krishna books, just to start, simple. So many books, and there's actual living gurus you can talk to, or me, if you have spiritual questions. And we have this family which will nourish you, and this temple. And so this is an oasis in the world. We go out there. Kasalinga was fraught with tourists. So I decided, thank you, Maharaj. So you go out there, and then you come back, you can come to this temple and talk to people about, well, I'm having trouble chanting, or whatever your questions are. Maybe preparing to get married, or whatever. Now we have answers by experience over 50 years. So we're here to help you. So welcome. But a lot has to do with your sincerity and your intention, your yogic intention, you're not going to lie, you want to know the truth, and with full sincerity, you do what you can to have this, what's called Navayovana, ever fresh, new, exciting Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I'll take one last question.
Quiet. Hare Krishna.
I have one last question to just sort of echo off of what Prabhu asked. As a young person, I think there's a lot of young people in the audience, so it may help. How do we balance our, spirituality is so joyful and so much fun, but how do we balance that with creating a material like to support our sadhana and Krishna consciousness, and then seva aspect? How do we manage our two endeavors and make it one for Krishna?
How do you balance what?
How do you balance your life? So you might be a student, you might be working outside, and you have Krishna consciousness. So how do you balance your life?
Yeah.
That's what you
This is Prabhupada's hat, by the way.
Oh, very bold.
It feels like Superman's cape, you know? The trick is to Krishnaize everything in your life. Even if sometimes you're in a work environment or a school environment, you tolerate people misunderstanding or injustice. One time I said to Prabhupada, I don't understand why there's war in the world. Sometimes I don't understand why there's war in the world. Sometimes I don't understand why people are unjust to one another. And sometimes, and he said, why sometimes? Meaning you should have this compassion all the time. So, I just had this discussion today that eventually you might be in a work environment and you're learning things. Eventually you could try to do some direct Krishna conscious work with the talents that Krishna gave you. He gives us talents, we give it back. Not something we don't want to do. Otherwise we're watching the clock at a job we don't like, waiting to go home. Bhakti is something natural that tells us, I want to do this, I want to write a book, I want to make a film, I want to cook this. And each service is just as important as any other. The manager has managerial proclivities and the cook is the cook. They're both important. So, if I knew your specific situation, I could advise you even more, and we can do that in private if you want. It could be work, it could be school, it could be society, it could be parents, it could be peers, your fellow. So, these are the challenges, but eventually, perhaps, if you're studying, you want a certain type of studying, you can eventually use it for Krishna. A person today, they had to work at a job for 1 year, but then, after that, they might be able to think at a better place that's more suited, more ecologically suitable, more green, rather than corporate greed. So, I just say keep on persevering, following your heart, following your dreams, praying to Krishna, he's your friend, and you have a unique and special relationship with Krishna, we all do. So he's your friend, he'll help you. You take one step towards him, he'll take 10. And just keep the faith. And you're not alone. You can talk to her. She knows we can all become gurus. Is that all right? Okay.
Well, you got a wonderful answer. Perseverance, praying to Krishna, and having faith and asking our co-members. You have that unique relationship with Krishna. So thank you so much for sharing that. On that note, I also want to mention that Gurudas Prabhu has authored a few books which are with me right now. So if any one of you would want to pre-order that, that's what we'll have to do. We don't have enough copies. If you want to pre-order, you can meet Monal Prabhu. And one of the books here is Endless Beginnings. The other book that I have with me here is Love, Medicine and Music. And I love the fact how, if you just put it this way, it says sex, drugs and rock and roll. Well, that would be interesting to read. The flip side of 60s. And the third one I have is By His Example, the wit and wisdom of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And of course we have one more book here, which is a lot of pictures that we had through. So Swami, the Swami who rocked the worlds. I like it, the worlds. It's
Right,
not just
yes.
one, it's not a singular world, but worlds. Okay, why there is worlds there?
We were in the doctor's office in Bombay, and he said, "Oh, I saw you both on television in London. Isn't it a small world?" And Prabhupada said, "Yes, it's insignificant."
Okay, yeah.
He was transcendental.
Yeah, that's true. So, okay, so on a quick note, if you have to pick up one picture out of the entire booklet that we have here, which would be your favorite picture? And on that note, we will end this talk show or the talk session that we had. But let's give him one more time a huge round of applause for the entire session today, and specifically for the rapid fire, which he said was the first time ever. So we gave you a memory of ISKCON Toronto, that you had the first ever rapid fire in your, as a talk show. Like, you've been to talk show before, but your first ever rapid fire. So thank you so much for
Except I had a moment of a pregnant pause with one of the questions.
And if any one of you are already, if you're pre-ordering this and you want to grab a picture with him, with that particular book, you can do that as well.
Okay, I'm looking for the picture you want, but it's when he had a heart attack and we didn't know if we'd ever see him again.
Was that in San Francisco?
Yeah, here it is.
Oh.
Look at that look, he's talking, oh, we're not going to.
I want to continue my work for Lord Krishna. Now we are a movement. I want to open 108 temples. If we continue to serve Krishna so nicely, I'll get better. Now go and start new temples all over the world. He stopped there and said, let us chant. That's the picture. I want to show everyone.
What a way to end. That's beautiful.
Okay.
Now I like my own writing. And
that's the picture.
Yeah.
I mean, so at that time, Prabhupada hadn't opened 108 temples and he got that heart attack in San Francisco.
Yes, he said, I might die at any moment. Go start temples. Sure.
Go start the temples. But at the last, he says, he stopped there and said, let us chant. So let us do that, put our hands up in the air and chant the whole Hare Krishna Maha Mantra with our full, reverence, with our full devotion, with our hearts in it. And this is remembering Srila Prabhupada. This is thanking Shri Radha Kicho Gopinath and thanking our spiritual mentors here. We have Bhaktimarg Swami Maharaj and we have His Grace Guru Das Prabhu here. So thanking him for this wonderful memories that he shared with all our hearts, everyone together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, let's do it one more time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Last time, because it's Ekadashi, one more fortunate day. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribol, thank you so much. So thank you so much, Prabhu. Yes, if any one of you have any questions that you want to ask in person, you